have good AI developers, people who experience. Because if you do 2 or 3 projects, by the 4th, you know how to track your code or how to track your prompt. Because if you're doing a prompt in the middle of the code, you're winging it. You're doing a demo, and that's fine. That's good for a demo, but not for an enterprise grade thing that's going to production. You want to keep things separated so you can actually track them and see how it works. And keep
I think
metrics too.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what I just wanted to add. I mean, ideally, it might sound a bit easier at the beginning that you just put everything in code. But I think once you scale up a project with multiple agents, multiple different models, you need to have separation from the code and the prompt engineering, basically. Otherwise, tracking is incredibly difficult all across the different agents. One particular tool that I've been using sometimes on and off with different types of success is called Prometheus. And maybe also link the tool in the description of the video. It's just basically let's say the coding way of actually keeping track of all changes, but it's for the prompt engineering world, basically. So that's maybe a tool of also, again, ensuring separation, and you have tracking, especially, again, if you scale up from 100 to 1,000 to 100,000 different prompts for any particular, let's say, more complex agentic project, you definitely do not want to be, every time you want to be release something new, look into the code and try to find the prompts where you need to adjust them. I think that's just an incredible hustle and unproductive hours of your AI engineers. At the same time, you want to have model independent prompts sometimes as well, because if a new model comes out, assuming that you currently run on ChatGPT 4.0 for whatever workload, but then maybe 5 appears. So you literally need to reshape most of the prompts maybe, and you do not want to be rewriting many lines of code sometimes even. You just want to be exchanging the prompts separately once the models are coming out. I think that's also a big part of, again, separation, keeping observability and metrics on these notions. Also, again, talking about metrics, maybe testing. How do you guys test different prompts? That's also something that, I think it was a comment from the last episode. One particular Swiss business asked, hey, how do you guys even test different types of prompts in a structured way? Do you have maybe also a bit of a solution there, how you usually go about that?
Yeah, you can define like the behavior you want and just have, you can say 100, 1,000 might become a bit too expensive, but I'd say 100 to 100 variations of that behavior. So if you want, for example, your HR agency, our hypothetical HR agency, and using GenAI, and you want it to build like those emails to send out to your potential candidates, and you want them to be customized to each candidate, specifying the skills of the candidates and the skills that are required for the job. So it needs to match those two, so not have those very generic messages I sometimes get on LinkedIn that are clearly copy-pasted, and sometimes I forget to put my name on there. So it's like, hi, insert name. So you're building your HR agency, right? And you want them to, for those emails to be consistently good, to be reliable. What you do is you get, let's say, 100 fake candidates and maybe 20 fake jobs to match those candidates. And you define like what a good email should be. And you run your system so to build those emails. And this could be like a single agent, could be a multiple agent system, but let's imagine it's a single agent that's tracking the skills of the candidate, skills of the job, and writing the email. And you write those 100 emails for those 100 candidates. And then you have another step in front of it to evaluate them and see, hey, look at the skills, look at the candidates. Does this email make sense? And you can ask GenAI to track and evaluate your email, because it's really good at reading things. So not only writing and making those emails, but also reading them and evaluating them and see how actually this could be a bit shorter, or actually you're missing this information that could be useful for the candidate. And so if you're using GenAI to write them, you can use GenAI, a different model if you want, or a different prompt, a different agent, to evaluate them. And then you get metrics, and then you can change your prompts, change your structure of the email, add images to make them look pretty, and still have GenAI at the end to evaluate them and keep track of those metrics.
Maybe, Benny, can you zoom in maybe on testing personas? Like, let's assume just you're a Swiss business, you might have multiple customer profiles that you want to be testing. Does it make sense, just from the top of my head, to be defining, let's say, your typical 10 customers that you need to serve on the chatbot and the voice bot, and then defining 10 personas? And in the background, there's literally 10 different LLMs that you can set up. With different flows, basically, not only one prompt, but maybe, for example, an entire conversation that you can test. Does that make sense? Or is it too expensive?
Maybe it can be It would be it depends if you could track and know the customer type. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense just to
Let's
have one.
hypothesize we know the customer. We have a profile of our top 10 customers, so we can basically match them. Like one, for example, is a 45-year-old affluent, let's say, lawyer type customer. The other one is maybe a teenager, and maybe we also have an elderly customer. Like maybe the conversations are a little bit different.
Okay, so that those would be different prompts. You could put this more in a dynamic way. So based on the type of the customer, you already have predefined, let's say, personality traits for the bot behaviors. Because on the prompt engineering, normally you can have different tags, and then you have a specific part for the persona. Normally when you structure it, and this would be interested. This would be the best way, because you could dynamically be doing this without having to do much effort. You just would have to have a database to track and to keep those different types of personas for the different types of clients.
So you can simulate those interactions with your system.
Exactly.
But having different types of people interacting with them, different types of fake people. I'd love to know what kind of business has in its top 10 customers an affluent lawyer and a teenager. And I forgot the other one, but it was clearly also out of usually the same demographic that those three usually run around.
Let's say you have a distribution, right? So it's like a bank potentially. If they have a youth offer, so this is like maybe something you want to be testing. I mean, you can basically just map your customers. I think it makes sense to definitely not be using static testing for AI services, because it just simply, it needs to be in the voice of whoever is potentially at a high probability using your service. It needs to be tailored to that and not just generic, like 15, 20 prompts and then you ship it into production. That just doesn't sound like it's adequately tested to me. But maybe I'm a bit too heavy here.
A table of like those 10 people, like 10, 15, you can keep adding them, but you don't need that much, those many variations. You can have like a very angry customer, like Louise, like she's 35 and she just lost her wallet and she's really angry talking with customer center. And you can have like that lawyer you like adding to the top 10. And he's really calm and really concise, and he wants to answer, like he can take as long as you want during the conversation. You can have those different personas, and even if you give him the same task, so you tell him, hey, you're a fake customer, like you're a customer. You don't need to tell them they're fake. I think they know. And you want to, for example, make an account at this bank. So interact with the system, like call customer support, talk to them via chat, whatever the system is. And try to create an account for you. Like, see what account works best for you. Louise will know she's 35, will know she's very angry, will know she lost her wallet recently. The lawyer will know things about himself. Like, you can just define those different personas. Each one of them will find a different answer and will interact with the system differently. And so you can emulate and simulate those different people talking to you, and you can have the angry customer trying to talk very rudely to your system and see if your system is actually polite back. You don't want a system that also curses at your customers. You might lose some PR.
I mean, it's a perfect point. I think.
Sorry. So going a bit further, right now you kind of have like type of clients defined. With this, you could also use the capabilities of the LLMs to track emotions. And let's say you don't know the type of the market, but you want the conversation to change dynamically based on the client response. If it's like more sad or angry or whatever, you have specific prompts for that. And if the client is more energetic or more patient, you just switch the conversation, and based on the analysis of the emotion, you could add this up. So even the conversation flow would be dynamic. You would have like a stats response in the beginning that would analyze how the client is feeling today. Because even if it's a lawyer, but today he's rushing up and he doesn't have patience and he wants the answers to be quicker.
So we went from building an HR agency to a banking system to a psychologist, like a DIY psychologist for anyone who comes along.
No, but imagine you're a client of a Swiss business. You're calling one of these chat voice bots basically, and you just literally do not feel understood. This is probably the worst possible user experience ever. So if you can get that tailored basically in the production of the AI components, but also in the testing, you need to somewhat, again, have a distribution on your target customers, have a distribution on your potential edge cases that you need to test. And every single time you do an update of the chat and the voice bot, you probably have to just literally retest that, because you do not want to have bad customer experiences. You want to have a better customer experience with AI and not a downgrade